Jeff, explain to us what happened in Iran and outside of the borders of Iran over the last few days. What are we looking at?
Yeah, so look, around 20 past 7 on Saturday evening, New Zealand time, my phone blew up with notifications saying that Israel had conducted a quote unquote preemptive strike on Iran. And it didn't take long for it to become apparent that it was the United States involved as well. And this was the big military strike that many of us had been anticipating, to be honest. There had been negotiations underway between Iran and the United States, indirect negotiations brokered by the Gulf state of Oman. They were held in the latest round were held in Geneva last Thursday, but it never really seemed that Donald Trump was going to take those negotiations seriously. So over the past couple of months, he had sent what he called an armada, which I don't think is an inaccurate way of describing it, an armada of US military assets, notably those two big aircraft carriers and all the associated aircraft and naval vessels with it. And so the US had hundreds of ships and planes, all the kitchen sink, really, all the greatest elements of the US military were there in place in the Arabian Sea and elsewhere around the Middle East region, just waiting for the order. And Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu determined via intelligence that the Iranian leadership were going to hold a meeting together in Tehran on Saturday morning, local time. And so that would provide an ideal opportunity to kill as many leaders as they could in one go. And they did that. 48 leaders, according to Donald Trump, 48 high-ranking members of the Iranian leadership were killed, including, of course, the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. So that explains the timing. It's not usual that you strike in broad daylight. I had said to someone earlier that day, well, the strike's obviously not going to happen because it was daybreak in Iran. And normally you would expect the strike to take place around about lunchtime, New Zealand time. Nothing happened. So I thought, well, okay, not today. Maybe it's tomorrow. Maybe it's next week. Maybe the negotiations will bear fruit. But then unexpectedly, it all came around 10 a.m. Iranian time, or just after 7 p.m. In New Zealand.
Which in and of itself was kind of, it's a weird way to say it, but was kind of under the cloak of daytime because no one was expecting it. So they would have had their guards down a little bit, and then it happened. I'm just looking for the footage because actually the footage of that compound being bombed, you can be like, how did anyone survive that? That was a real destructive attack.
Yeah, they hit it with over 30 different munitions all at once. They definitely were going for a what they call a decapitation strike, take out their entire leadership in one hit.
Indeed, and look, the United States and Israel have had this success, no doubt, a rush of blood to the head for both Donald Trump and Netanyahu. The thought that they've killed, as they would see it, the head of the snake in Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. But I do recall George W. Bush in 2003 standing on the aircraft carrier with the mission accomplished banner.
Accomplished, yeah.
And that was the easy bit done, right? When Saddam Hussein's regime had been toppled and George W. Bush patted himself on the back saying, good job, all done. But then the real trouble started and you had a brutal civil war unfold for years in Iran, and all kinds of chaos and destruction and second order effects came out of that. The rise of ISIS was really linked back to the Iraq War of 2003. And, there are so many, I think, as I say, legacies of that Iraq War, perhaps right up to the present day. And so this time around, you wonder what is going to happen next, because now the supreme leader is gone in Iran, but does that make them more or less likely to want to fight back against the United States? I think in Iran, they're absolutely furious, and they're showing that now. They're showing their fury and their anger. I mean, the Epic Fury is the name of the US operation, and it's even more epic fury on the part of Iran now that this has been done to them. and they're trying to avenge the death of their leader. So what better motivation could you have, really, at this point, if you're the Iranian regime? You're going to throw the kitchen sink back at the United States. And what have you got to lose at this point, almost, in a sense? They will feel betrayed, deceived. While it was not surprising that Donald Trump really didn't take these negotiations seriously, Iran was taking these negotiations, I think, in good faith. They were offering up concessions. It was slow going, but these negotiations are never straightforward. According to the Omani foreign minister, who was involved in the brokering of these talks, Iran was willing to make significant concessions, including giving up their entire enriched uranium stockpile. It sounded pretty good to me. Of course, a lot of fine print, a lot of details to be worked out, exactly what else would be involved and all of this. But that's why you have more negotiations, and more negotiations were scheduled for today in Vienna. And of course, they have not taken place, and instead we have this huge scale war in the Middle East, and we have an absolute mess. We have chaos and destruction across the Middle East.